When you come into the league as expansion teams, there's always a high expectation and a low expectation. Well, the high expectation is the local fans trying to see how good you can become. From the Los Angeles Angels and the Washington Senators in 1961 to the New York Mets and Houston Astros in 1962 to the Great Expansion of 1969 with Kansas City, Montreal, San Diego, and Seattle before they became Milwaukee and play. Seattle getting an expansion team for realsies in 1977 alongside the Toronto Blue Jays. And of course, 1993 with Colorado, Florida, and 98 with Arizona and Tampa Bay. There's always an expectation to know if you can measure up to your local team's high expectations. This team lasted their third season and used a brand new stadium to build what is known as one of the most power hitting lineups in history. We take a look tonight at the 1995 Colorado Rockies. You've got Jeff Diamond, you've got one man, you've got a hat, a bat, and that's definitely not all. You got the bleachers, got it from spring to fall, you got a dog, a drink, and that umpire's call. What do you want? Let's play what if. Okay. Okay, Cutter, do some what ifs. Okay, Cutter, do some what ifs. So the Colorado Rockies came about as Denver had some very good minor league teams. In fact, the Expos once had Denver as their top affiliate, with Tim Raines and Warren Cromartie coming from Denver, Ronnie Scott, and a lot of other people. So what ends up happening is that, baseball in Colorado, you just don't think about it because after all, Colorado is more of a winter state. I mean, you have the Nuggets, you have the Broncos, and of course, in 1995, they got the Colorado Avalanche, the hockey team from Quebec City. But baseball in Colorado was huge. But in 1993, baseball would be coming to Colorado. Now, a lot of people know about their ride at Coors Field, which will last 30 years. Of course, this is the 1995 team we're talking about, but this is 30 years that Coors Field has been around. The funny thing is that people forget that the Rockies did not play at Coors Field all their career. No, no, no. Unlike the Tampa Bay Rays, who have played at Tropicana Field all their lives. Well, technically not this year, 2025, because they have to rebuild the Tropicana Field Stadium because of the whole hurricane problems and have to play at the Yankees, Florida place, George Steinbrenner Field, which will feel weird to be, in a stadium that's owned by the Yankees and you're the Tampa Bay Rays. Colorado actually started life at Mile High Stadium. Yes, that Mile High Stadium, not the current one today infelled by the Broncos, but like the old Mile High Stadium for the Broncos and all that. The Orange Crush defense, among others. Yeah, they had to have baseball in that stadium because there was nowhere else you were going to put baseball. And yes, they had set a lot of attendance records because, Mile High Stadium holds 70,000 people. And they were doing numbers that basically Dodger Stadium couldn't even do. So Colorado built themselves with a good expansion draft, some great trades, and free agency and all that stuff. Kind of like Arizona. Colorado after 1995 was a bit of a puzzle. 1996, Hideo Nomo threw a no-hitter at Coors Field, which is an anomaly because, the Mile High Air will have baseballs lift longer than normal. The Rockies were decent and all that. However, they wouldn't get much sympathy until 2007 when Rocktober happened. When Colorado came out of freaking nowhere, won 20 out of 21 possible games to end the season, and put themselves in a one-game playoff with the San Diego Padres. I already talked about the 2007 San Diego Padres and how they got screwed out of their trip to the NLDS because of Matt Holliday not touching home plate. Even I know that. But nevertheless, Colorado used their Rocktober status and somehow, in some way, got to the World Series where the Boston Red Sox were waiting for them and sweeping the ass out of them. So Colorado's been home to some great power hitters and all that. They haven't really had much success. Todd Helton, when he left, Colorado got nothing else. But anyway, the Colorado Rockies franchise had some great moments. And in 1995, people thought that the Rockies were going to pull off one of the biggest stunners of all time. So the 95 Rockies was their third in Major League Baseball and the first time at Coors Field after moving away from Mile High Stadium. Don Baylor, a very good hitter himself, would be your manager. They competed in the NL West. They were 10 games above 500, second in the division, but were the NL wildcard champions. 94 was supposed to be the first year of the wild card, but because of that strike, it didn't happen. So in 1995, the Colorado Rockies would become big, and they would be the first wildcard team around. They took on the Atlanta Braves and actually didn't get swept. Anyway, in the offseason, they had a few big moves on the free agency deal. Of course, the strike in 94 wiped out part of the 95 season, and there was only 144 games. And it wiped out some roster moves. One of the biggest moves was on April 8th, 1985, just one day short of my 10th birthday, that Bill Swift signed from the San Francisco Giants, and Larry Walker, of all people, signed from the Expos to the Rockies as free agents. Of course, Montreal in 94 had to get rid of some players because the financial problem was huge. And if the 94 postseason had happened, even if the Expos had taken care of things and gone to at least one round of the playoffs, the financial standards of both a Canadian and U.S. TV deal would have helped them out. So, of course, they had to get rid of Ken Hill, Marcus Grissom, Larry Walker, and John Wetland. So, anyway, the start of the 95 baseball regular season, it was supposed to start on April 2nd, in a sense. But yeah, 3 weeks, the baseball strike happened. So the official opening day for Coors Field was on April 26th. And that was one of the most epic opening day games around. The Rockies and the Mets were huge. This was the inaugural game of Coors Field. And Larry Walker put up 3 doubles, including one in the ninth with 2 outs to tie the game against the Mets. There were people thrown out and all that great performances, but then Dante Bichette put up a 2-run tater tot in the 14th inning, one of the longest opening day games of all time. The Blue Jays and Indians from 2012, 16 innings, would say, "Hold my beer." And so, anyway, that's what happened. The Rockies led the NL in hits, runs, triples, home runs, RBIs, batting average. Unfortunately, though, their pitching sucked because the Mile High Air ruined pitching for them. They gave up the most hits, runs, earned runs, and only had 1 shutout. Anyway, the Rockies hitters were known as the Blake Street Bombers because Blake Street was where the ballpark was, consisting of Dante Bichette, who was thrown away by the Angels and Brewers organizations, among others, Vinny Castilla, who was a decent player. I don't know where he went before Colorado. Andres Galarraga, who ironically was a former Expo and teammate of Larry Walker before he went to St. Louis in the Ken Hill trade. And of course, Larry Walker, who came from the Expos. The Rockies would end up winning the wild card berth, and in just their 3rd season of play, they made it. They missed out on the NL West by 1 incy-wincy game against the Dodgers. Fortunately, though, they just snuck ahead of Houston to win the wild card. And of course, Houston was the top team in the NL Central in 94 with Jeff Bagwell having a great season. So anyway, Colorado needed to beat San Francisco on home turf to avoid a tiebreaker game. They used 7 pitchers, and thankfully, though, the Rockies won 10-9. Larry Walker wasn't really the best hitter. The Braves did take care of the Rockies in 4 games. Colorado sucked against Atlanta 4-9. 4-9 against the Dodgers, 7-1 against the Expos. It was probably bedlam for Expo fans to see Larry Walker. But speaking of Todd Helton, he was actually drafted by the Rockies in the first round of the 1995 draft. And he was signed July the 1st, 1995. And that was a great move, as Todd Helton is Colorado's #1 player of all time. Sorry, Carlos Gonzalez. Brett Saberhagen was traded at the trade deadline from the Mets to the Rockies for one Acevedo. So Brett Saberhagen coming over to Colorado was huge because Saberhagen was this big star for Kansas City, and then he got sent to the Mets, and he didn't really do that well. Meanwhile, the pitching staff, not really that many well-known names, unless you're from the Colorado area. Marvin Freeman, Darren Holmes, Curtis Laskanek, David Nied, the first ever draft pick by the Rockies, Omar Oliveras, Steve Reed, Brian Rakehart, Armando Reynoso, Kevin Ritz, Brett Saberhagen, Bill Swift. The main guys were Joe Girardi and Matt Noakes, with Jay Owens helping them out. In the infield, Philly Castillo, a young Craig Counsell, John Vanderwell, who in 1995 set the record for most pinch hits in one year with 22, Walt Weiss and Eric Young. The outfielders, Dante Bichette, Ellis Burks was there, Quentin McCracken before he went to Tampa, and Larry Walker. They were 4-1 in April, 2 games above 500 in May, but June, 3 games above 500. July, they were good. August, they weren't. September and October, they were 17 and 11. They went to the NLDS. They fell in the first 2 games on home turf and then went to Atlanta for 2. And they did win game 3. So, yeah, Mike Kingery. Alrighty. So, yeah, 40 home runs, 128 RBIs by Dante's peak. Now, Galarraga, Casilla, and Walker all hit 30 home runs. Kevin Ritz was the best pitcher, 11 and 11. Brett Saberhagen pitched 9 games and won 2. Now, they had a bullpen by committee. So, what would happen if the 95 Rockies got past Atlanta and would face the Reds for the NLCS? Let's find out. All right, so for this, the Rockies will replace the Braves and play the Reds in the NLCS. Cincy has home field advantage. And using Cincy's lineup from the in real life, the AL, the NLCS. So the starters for the Reds are as they were in real life. So Pete Sharks did start game 1 of the NLCS in real life. And in game 1, we see the Rockies get the butts handed to them 8-4. Reds got off to a fast start, 4-0. Santiago hit a double to score Larkin. Hal Morris hit a single to score Benito. And then Jeff Branson hits a home run in the center field. Who knew Branson, Missouri was huge? Anyway, Larkin singles in the 4th to score Thomas Howard. Double play ball. Pete Sherrick scored. Galarraga hit a solo home run to make it 6-1. Larry Walker hits in the fielder's choice to make it 6-2. Girardi grounds out to make it 6-3. Larry Walker hits a fielder's choice, which is funny. And then Jerome Walton, the former Cub who was named Rookie of the Year in 1989, he came in to pinch hit for Pete Sherrick and hit a home run to left center field off Curtis Laskanek. Hector Carrasco came in to pitch, gave up a hit to Galarraga, but nothing else. And no, he did not get the save because he came in with a 4-run lead. Sherrick doing the job. Kevin Ritz only going 5 innings. Steve Reed 2 innings. That's kind of 1. So Colorado will go with Bill Swift for game 2. John Smiley for game 2 for Cincy. And game 2 sees the Reds win in walkout fashion. Reds go up 2-0 again as Benito Santiago gets a home run and Hal Morris singles to score Reggie Sanders. And then in the 4th, Vinny Castilla doubles to score Walker. And then Galarraga goes deep 3-2. I'm like, Dante Bichette gets a single to score Eric Young. And then in the bottom of the 5th, Reggie Sanders tied it up at 4. Joe Gray came in to pitch for the Rockies, and Jeff Branson hits a double to score Hal Morris. It was 5-4 until the 8th when Galarraga hits a inside the park home run. It was a funny bounce. Colorado runs on 1st and 3rd. Turner Hubbard was at 3rd base, but Larry Walker swung and missed. Darren Holmes came in to pitch. Larkin flies out. Santiago strikes out. Sanders gets a single, swipes 2nd. They intentionally walk Ron Gamp to get to Hal Morris, but he hits a single to score the winning run. So Smiley, Burba went 3 2/3 after Smiley went only 4. Carrasco and Xavier Hernandez is the hero. For Colorado, Bill Swift, Joe Gray, Steve Reed, Curtis Laskanek, and Darren Holmes. So they head to Colorado for games 3 and 4. It will be Reynoso for the Rockies and David Wells for the Reds. The Reds have used a 3-man rotation for the NLCS, if you must know. And in Colorado, Cincy wins 14-7. Wow. Red also came in, gave up a single to Santiago scored Larkin. Ron Gant goes deep after Santiago gets his hit. Then Sanders walks. Gant hits a 3-run home run. And then Brett Boone, yes, that Brett Boone hit a 2-run home run to make it 6-0. Timmy Wells didn't do much either, as Larry Walker hits a double to score Eric Young. Castilla triples to score Walker and Bichette. Mike Kinnery gets a double to score Castilla. Mike. George Girardi single scored Mike Kingery. Vanderwall comes into pinch hit and swings and misses, so Kevin Ritz has to come in after 1 inning. No runs till the third when David Wells hits a single to score Thomas Howard. As RGL Network goes, DH, I don't need no stinking DH. And then Santiago single scored Wells to make it 8-5. David Wells again gets a hit to score Brett Boone. So second RBI, he's a freaking pitcher. And then the sixth, Hal Morris doubles to score Gant. Brett Boone gets a sac fly to make it 11-5. And then Reggie Sanders singles to score Larkin. Double play both for Colorado finally scoring a run. Santiago hits a home run in the top of the ninth. Saberhagen comes in to pitch, but gives up a Ron Gant home run to make it 14-6. Mike Kingery gets a bases loaded walk, but nothing else. Colorado Reynoso went only 1 inning. Kevin Ritz went 5 innings, giving up 5 runs. Bruce Ruffin, 2/3 of an inning. Lance Painter, 2 innings. And Brett Saberhagen, a third. David Wells went 6th, then Hector Carrasco, 2 1/3. CJ Nikowski, future Tiger. So the 3-man rotation. The only problem is Colorado has to go with Swift or someone else because Kevin Ritz already pitched. So they're going to have to go with Bill Swift. And the plan did not work. The Reds sweep the Rockies 12-11. So the Reds would have been in the 95 playoffs and probably lost to their Ohio icons, Cleveland. Nothing doing till the third when Santiago gets a double to score Larkin, and then Reggie Sanders hits a 2-run tater tot. Walt Weiss singles to score John Vanderwell, who came in to pinch hit for Bill Swift. Eric Young hit a triple to score Kingery and Girardi in the fourth. Hal Morris hits a 3-run home run. Juan Acevedo has to come in to pitch and gives up a home run to Branson, Missouri, 7-3. Gets sac fly. Branson single to score Sanders. Eric Young scores Kingery with a run. But in the 7th, Larkin single score Howard. Santiago flies out to score Walton. And then in the bottom of the 8th, Colorado went nuts. Girardi walks. Alice Burks comes in the pinch hit. Why the hell is Burks not a main guy? I don't know. He walks. Eric Young singles. Bases are loaded. Weiss strikes out. Xavier Hernandez pitches, but Larry Walker hits a single score Girardi and Burks. Bichette strikes out for out number 2. Castillo singles score Young. Galarraga singles to the left. And then Mike Kingery, of all fucking people, hit a grand solo on me. Mike Jackson had to come in to pitch. And in the top of the ninth, Steve Reed came in to pitch. Larkin and Santiago both grounded out, but Reggie Sanders hits a home run. 12-11. Brantley came in for the save. Jason Bates comes in for Steve Reed. He walks. Young is a fielder's choice, so Bates is out. Young is at first. While White strikes out, Larry Walker singles, but Dante Bichette lines out. Game over. The Reds win 12-1. 11, So it was Swift, Gray, Azevedo, Ruffin, Painter, and Reed for the Rocks. For the Reds, Shurek, Carrasco, Xavier Hernandez, Mike Jackson with the save win, and Jeff Brantley with the save. So the Cincinnati Reds would have swept the Rockies, and probably Cleveland would have had the World Series. So, but yeah, the Rockies, nothing short of miracle. At least they made the playoffs the first time they had a chance. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond.